here because we believe that everyone has inherent dignity, and that in our democracy, voting is the way that that dignity is acknowledged and expressed. And so we want to see as many people as possible. We want to see everyone exercise their right to vote, and we see it as a human dignity issue. So we are very much in favor of early voting. We started working on early voting in January of this year. We've engaged, Missouri Faith Voices has engaged about 96 congregations. MCU in St. Louis has engaged 35 congregations, and so far we've collected a total of about 26,000 signatures on this initiative petition. And I will tell you, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but collecting signatures is hard work. These were folks who were doing it not for pay. And the weather was not cooperative this year. So we were standing in the snow and the rain. At one point, some of my co-circulators, we had a little contest going how many people could collect signatures on a day when it started to snow, and I will tell you I lost to people who were more willing to stand with frozen fingers and ears. But this is something that we feel passionate about because we think that everyone should have easy access to voting. And our biggest concerns with this current piece of legislation is that it does only allow for 9 days, and there is the blackout week between Election Day and when early voting would stop, and frankly that it doesn't have Sundays included. So even coming from a completely faith-based organization with voting as an expression of dignity, if Sunday's the only day you can do it, we want you to be able to do it then. And for many people, that seems to be the case. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Any questions from the witness? Yes, Senator Krause.
Since you came to testify in opposition to this and for your initiative petition, I was kind of questioning what's the cost of the initiative petition, the fiscal note associated with it?
With the initiative petition, I will tell you I've seen it, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. There are some other folks who will testify that could probably tell you more specifically.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you very much. Anyone else testify against?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, my name is Martin Sand. I'm from Memphis, Missouri, and I'm here to testify against HJR 90. My basic background is communications and education. I spent several years with a telephone company. I also taught information technology at the community college for 15 years. And I also served as an election judge and a supervisor election judge in my home area. My reason for opposing the bill is many. Several reasons just were mentioned, and also have been brought up here previously. One is that it only incorporated 9 days prior to election. Suppose it's approximately a week before the election, which limits people's right to vote. People should not have a limitation on their privilege or their right to vote. Also, it excludes evenings, because some people, as you know, work days, Monday through Friday, and only a 4-hour period on Saturdays. And so consequently, because of that, those folks do not have an opportunity to vote during those periods of time, especially on Saturdays. And Saturdays sometimes are reflective of maybe a holiday like Sundays, for example, you don't work. In today's world, that just doesn't apply. There are probably just as many people work on Saturdays as there are Monday through Fridays. That's just the way our business world is today. I know the company I worked for 37 years, we had people working every day, not just Monday through Friday, with 24-hour operations, 365 days a year. So placing those limitations on individuals is not fair, or is equitable to the voting process. Also, it doesn't necessarily speak to size particularly, but does give it gives people the opportunity in the early voting process to exercise that vote. Now, I speak for people. I represent AARP, and there's a lot of people in AARP get them to a poll. And if those sons, daughters, or relatives are working, then they're not going to have an opportunity to transport them to the poll and give them the opportunity to vote. So restricting that opportunity is just not equitable, nor is it fair. And so, with that in mind, I would urge each of you to not support this measure. Keep in mind that when you all took office, you took an oath of office. You support the Missouri Constitution, you support the U.S. Constitution, and both of those sacred documents reserve citizens their legal and constitutional right to vote. And so I don't think we ought to be doing anything that infringes on those rights. Thanks very much.
Any questions for the witness? Thank you very much. All witnesses, please fill out a witness form. Next.
My name is Janice Brill. I live in Green Valley, Missouri, but I am a retired public school teacher, lifetime certified in English and social studies. I taught my entire career at Norwood School, which is in Tony's district. I personally collected 330 signatures for this initiative petition. Behind me are 332 gatherers with Jobs of Justice, all of whom gathered petition signatures. We gathered in the snow outside the Independence Event Center before a Mavericks game. We gathered at VFW meetings. We gathered at our churches. We gathered in parking lots. We gathered because we believe that early voting is a necessity in our state to allow the people, especially working people, to be able to vote. In addition, I was an adjunct professor of government and history for Southwest Baptist and what was then SMSU and Drury College in history and government. So I've taught a lot of students about the precious right to vote and its importance. Early voting will allow more people to vote than what is proposed by Representative Duggar. We proposed 6 weeks, which included Saturday and Sunday and evening hours during the week, with no blackout period before the election. Representative Duggar's bill calls for 9 days, no election before 1 week before, no Sundays, and no evening hours on the weekend. As I look at this, it seems to me, number one, that there never would have been this bill if we had not frozen out there to get these petitions that are the will of the people. This bill is an effort to make sure that the kind of people we want to see vote, working people who work from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, are able to vote. In Green Valley, on a Tuesday, on election day, like every other weekday, our city empties from around before 6 in the morning, and people don't come back from work till after 7 at night. They are effectively denied their right to vote under these old rules. Now, if you look at what this bill did, it essentially took what we were trying to do to make voting available to these working people and stripped it out. You can vote from 9 to 5 on the weekdays. Those people are working. They're working and producing and paying taxes in our state. It doesn't help them that they can vote on the weekdays during working hours. No Sundays, when it would be most convenient for people to vote, and no evening hours on the weekdays where they could stop on their way home from work and vote. In my opinion, this bill was designed only in response to what the people's will has clearly been, that this should be on the ballot alone, and it is made clear that what is aimed in this bill is to make sure that working people can't vote. It is not an effort, an honest effort, to allow for early voting. Now, there's been a lot of talk, and I would point out that everyone who spoke in favor of this is a county clerk. I knew Tony when he was a county clerk, in my opinion, anything you asked Tony to do when he was a county clerk, he would have found a way to do. But these are people, these are citizens, and what these clerks have told us is that it would be too hard and it's too expensive. Well, I don't know about you, but my vote is priceless. My vote is priceless. And you are here to show leadership, to do the hard things, and what this bill does is shoot down the efforts of hundreds and hundreds of gatherers and thousands of signatories who want this bill on the ballot. Let them vote it up or down, but let them vote it up or down in an honest expression of their view, not some trickery, some trickery that's been done in this building. This came up with undue haste, in my opinion. I don't know of any bill that ever moved through the House of Representatives so quickly, and it was clearly in response to an understanding that we had enough signatures to get this on the ballot. All we're asking is to allow this to go on the ballot, let the people decide. If the people don't want it, we'll all go away. But don't let it be a result of some sort of shenanigans on the part of the legislature that confuses the voter and dilutes what it is we want to do to allow more people to vote. Thank you.
Questions from the witness? Thank you. Is anyone else to testify against?
Thank you for letting me speak. Really appreciate it. My name is Greg Oldie. I'm a retired pipe fitter, retired a few months ago. One of the things I always wanted to do when I retired was get out and volunteer for worthwhile things. When I heard about this initiative, I jumped on it. I can personally relate to problems being able to vote. Since 2007, I've worked mostly overtime jobs, both in the state and out of the state. And basically worked 6-10-hour days, a lot of times seven days a week. But any election day, instead of riding to a job in Joplin or Oklahoma in the company truck, I had to take my own vehicle, either arrive at the job late, missing hours, or leave the job early, missing hours. So it cost me with the gas and missed hours. And having been out there collecting petitions, I heard stories every day from people that work 6 days a week, truck driver, all kinds of people. It's not a 40-hour week for a lot of working class people. It's just not. You can't make it on 40 hours a week anymore. So anyway, I made a commitment to get 200 signatures. And, made that commitment. I'm getting close to 300 now. Like everybody's saying, a lot of times we've been out there. It's been bad out there. I stood out there, and when it was sleeting, the wind chill was in the teens for 2.5 hours and got 2 signatures. But it was worth it. One of the most enjoyable things about doing what I've done, I've got to meet some really wonderful, dedicated petition volunteers, and that's been a big reward for me. one woman comes to mind. She collects petitions all day, 5 to 6 days a week. Volunteers to hit events in the evenings and to churches on the weekends. And of course, she really believes in what we're doing. Another woman who, you know, I'm really amazed by her. She's 78 years old, collects petitions full time, and I would talk to her, stop by and visit her. She said she loved what she was doing, but her legs were killing her. 8 hours a day in a 5 foot by 5 foot designated area, 30 feet from the door or whatever. And standing in one spot, I know is harder than when I walked the length of the St. Patrick's Day parade. It was hard on her. She finally had to slow up here a week or so ago because her legs were bothering her so bad. But she was an inspiration to me. All the people involved with this petition, the initiative, are doing the democratic process the way it's supposed to be done. The citizens who are concerned about an issue or want to propose an issue to make democracy better have gone out and done the incredible amount of footwork to get the petition signed so people can vote on it. You can imagine how we felt when HJR 90 got on us. We were stunned. It felt like we'd been sucker punched and being told by our own legislators in your face, how do you like your democratic process now? I mean, that's a way, it was almost personal to Marcus. Besides people and then a lot of good friends with volunteers, I really enjoyed visiting with the people that we tried to get to sign petitions. Even those who didn't want to sign would stop, discuss the issue, visit a little bit. And there were people that who weren't sure how they felt about early voting. Didn't know how they would end up voting, but they said due to our effort, we at least ought to have a right to have it on the ballot and to be able to vote for it.
More?
Just a hair.
Okay.
I'll say a few things I heard. Captain in the Army from here, stationed up in New York, back on leave, told me he always votes conservative, but he fought for, and then he died for our right to vote. This past Thursday, I talked to a woman, and she said, yeah, we need early voting, I'd be glad to sign. And when she came to sign, she didn't have any hands. I'm not exaggerating, she didn't have any hands. And I felt guilty about even asking her, but she signed it. She thanked me for our effort. And Saturday, I talked to a woman from Panama. Down there, they have Sunday voting. Besides their regular voting areas, the voting people will go to the old folks' homes and the hospitals to give everybody a chance to vote. And it wasn't that long ago when Panama was under military dictatorship. They appreciated their democracy. I've talked to people from Florida, Kansas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, places that have early voting. that either moved back or they're here to visit, and they said they love early voting, and they can't believe Missouri doesn't have it. Two people, each from a different state, mentioned the word backward when we're referring to us, and which made me mad, because I've lived in Missouri for 50 years. I've always very much appreciated the way we've been able to work across aisles, do things to attract business, keep a lid on taxes, but also pass laws to help the working people in the middle class, to protect them. And you know, I just want to say I've always been proud to be in Missouri. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else or any questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will try to keep this brief. I appreciate Representative Duggar and what he's trying to do here. I appreciate the county clerks who have testified. I am testifying against this bill for a little different reasons than the other people who are opposed to it. I am even more strongly opposed to the initiative petition than I am this bill. But we have to look at why we're voting for this. To me, when you vote for any piece of legislation, you should ask four things. At least I look at it that way. One, is it constitutional? This would make it constitutional, so that's not an issue. Two, is it moral? I don't see a moral issue with this. Three, is it affordable? The initiative petition is not affordable. I don't have a fiscal note on this bill, but we do know that it will cost county clerks more money. It will cost election officials more money than currently what we have today. So it is more expensive. And finally, is it needed? Well, it's needed in the sense that people are looking at it that if this initiative passes, it's going to be really bad. But I would say that this is not needed because we have to look at what is the underlying issue here. And it's been addressed, but not really dealt with. The underlying issue when you're dealing with elections is getting people involved and to vote. So if this piece of legislation is actually going to reduce voter turnout, then it is the wrong thing and it is not necessary. According to Pew Research, and their research was put in the New York Times as well, but according to Pew Research, states with bills like what Representative Duggar is proposing and with what the initiative is proposing, actually reduce their voter turnout by 3 to 4%. Because of little things like the stickers, co-workers don't see the stickers, and because to get out the vote efforts, and there's a whole milieu of reasons, but the actual votes, they looked at every single county in the country, and they found that in those counties that had early voting, voter turnout was decreased by 3 to 4%. So to me, this is a negative. So it is not necessary. Also, it will cause county clerks to hire more staff. Just like the county clerk from Cooper County testified, in Callaway County there's 40,000 people, 44 roughly 30,000 registered voters. Give or take the election, 60 to 70% vote. Out of those, according to this research, 30 to 50% in the states in 2008 for the presidential election that had early voting. The voters actually voted early. But it didn't increase the overall turnout. But 30 to 50% in Callaway County with 2 staff and 1 election authority will mean that they will have to hire more staff in that office. It will cost more money. This is going to be an expense that is unnecessary. The last thing is that the other side spoke the truth. Well, first off, let me address something that was brought up by the other side, or the other opposition, and that is that people work and they can't vote. Our current absentee laws allow anybody who's out of their jurisdiction on the day of elections to vote. So there is no worker that couldn't vote. There's also laws that allow those same people to request time off from their employer if they chose to go that route. So they have opportunity to vote. That is already there with our current system. This is an unnecessary bill, in my opinion, that is a reaction to this initiative, which is bad. But to me, it is not the proper role of this body to pass bad legislation to stop even worse legislation. The proper role is to do what is right, to protect voter turnout, to vote no on this bill, And then to get out there when you guys are going out in your districts and fight against the initiative because it needs to be stopped. And if the counties are going to be against it because of the cost, they bear it. And if they stand up and all the representatives and the clerks and all the other officials stand up against this bill and show exactly how costly it is and how it stretches the election officials thin and may actually increase or reduce voter integrity because they can't staff properly, then we defeat their initiative. But we should not be passing something simply out of fear of something being done by the people.
Questions for the witness? Yes, Senator Wong.
I'm sorry, if you can make.
Mitch Hugger.
Anyone else? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else to testify against? Seeing none, anyone to testify for informational purposes only?
Mr. Chairman, this is Committee John Scott from the Secretary of State's office. We're in a unique position because our office has advocated for early voting since before Secretary Gander was even in office. But we also deal with initiative petitions, and we don't get involved in the merits of initiative petitions while they're in the process. That being said, I just wanted to let the committee know that we are happy to see that early voting is center stage and that the legislature is discussing it, and that the state is talking about an idea that 35 other states have, and that it's long overdue in Missouri. We're supportive generally of early voting, and happy to answer any questions. There are a couple things that I'll touch on. In terms of the lists being updated when you get closer to election day, what a lot of other states do is have sort of real-time voter lists where people fall off the rolls. So there would be some technological pieces that would have to go into place. That's nothing uncommon for early voting and under any plan. I would point out that any decrease in turnout that anyone tries to would attribute to early voting, I think it's typically associated with election day itself, not to the turnout as a whole. So those are the things I wanted to touch on.
Questions for the witness? Senator Cross?
I asked earlier, and no one responded to that. What's the cost of this petition? If this was not on it.
Of the initiative petition, I think, just looking at, I think, said $2.5 million for startup, and I would have to look back to see what the
The numbers I was seeing was 17 or 30, I can't remember which million. All right, I'll look it up, I'm sure we can get that. So I just figured since you're testifying for information, you might actually know. Thanks.
Anyone else with questions? Thank you. Anyone else to testify for informational purposes only on the bills? Seeing none, that will close the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 2271, House Committee Substitute for HJR 90. I don't like to vote same day we hear anything. Let's let this settle a little bit. Maybe sometime this week, Wednesday, Thursday, okay? Thank you, guys.
Go in the office.